Hi, welcome back to Fifeanory. My name's Sophie Knight, and I am back today to read you another story, um, which is going to be from the Grimm fairy tales. This version is illustrated beautifully by David Hockney. He's done some beautiful etchings to accompany these fairy tales. The Grimm stories were compiled by the brothers Wilhelm and Jacob and first published in, I think, about 1812. They were existing stories that had been circulating around Germany and Europe for many, many years. And the stories that we know today are hugely sanitized from the original stories, which were quite dark and have their essence in almost cautionary tales. So the first one I'm going to read today is Rapunzel. And I don't know if you've read Rapunzel as an adult recently. But if you haven't, then enjoy. Rapunzel. A man and a woman had long wanted a child, and they believed that at last their wish had come true. The house in which they lived had a small window at the back, which looked out onto a wonderful garden with lovely flowers and herbs, but it was surrounded by a high wall, and nobody dared to go in, for it belonged to a powerful enchantress. One day, the woman was standing at the window looking into the garden when she noticed a flower bed. Planted with the most luscious Rapunzels, it looked so fresh and green that she couldn't leave the window. I must have some, she thought. But since she knew it was forbidden, she grew pale and miserable. Her husband was worried and asked, "What's wrong with you?" "Oh, I saw some wonderful Rapunzels in the garden behind the house, and if I can't have some, I shall die." The man loved his wife and wanted to help. "I can't let her die," he thought. "I must get her some Rapunzels, whatever the cost." I'll just show you this illustration here. You can see the little window at the top of the tower where the woman is. Very, very stark drawing that's been transformed into an etching. As it grew dark, he sneaked into the garden, snatched a handful of the plants, and took them to his wife, who quickly made herself a salad. It was so delicious that the next day she longed for more, and to calm her, her husband climbed into the garden once again. He was given a terrible fright when the enchantress crept up behind him. "How dare you?" she cried out in rage. "How dare you climb into my garden and steal my Rapunzels?" "I know I've done wrong," he pleaded, "but pity me. I was forced to do it. My wife saw your Rapunzels from the window, and she wanted them so much that she certainly would have died if I hadn't stolen her of you." The enchantress was cunning. "If that's the truth," she replied, "I'll let you take all the Rapunzels you want. But there is one condition. You must give me your child as soon as it is born." I'm just going to show you the picture of the father here. Here he is on this side, digging up the Rapunzels, and on the other side with his daughter when she's just born. I think it's such an interesting way to depict a father, because he looks almost like, in this one, he looks almost like a Madonna with the baby Jesus. It's a very interesting way to depict a man, I think. It's beautiful, very beautiful. "The child will have a good life, and I'll care for it like a mother." In his terror, the man agreed, and when the child was born, the enchantress took it away and named it Rapunzel. Rapunzel was the most beautiful girl under the sun. When she was 12 years old, the enchantress led her deep into the forest and locked her up in a small room high up in a tower, which had neither doors nor steps, but only one window at the very top. Here it is here. You see her hair is coming down, and there she is. When the enchantress wanted to enter, she stood under the window and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel had long blonde hair. When she heard the enchantress calling, she would wind it round a window hook and let it down to the ground so the old woman could climb up. A few years later, a prince was riding through the forest, and as he passed by the tower, he heard a beautiful voice and stopped to listen. Rapunzel was singing. The prince longed to see her and searched for a door, but the tower had none. He couldn't forget her voice and came to listen every day. Then, one afternoon, he heard the enchantress calling, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Rapunzel let down her hair, and the enchantress climbed up. "Oh, if that's the ladder," he thought, "then I can climb up as well." And when it was dark, he went to the tower and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Her hair fell down, and he climbed up. Rapunzel was very frightened, for she had never seen a man. But the prince was kind and told her how the song had moved him. When Rapunzel saw how young and handsome he was, she thought, "He will love me better than the old woman." She put her hands in his and said, "I wish I could go with you, but I can't get out. Each time you come, bring a roll of silk, and I will weave a ladder. When it's finished, we'll escape together on your horse." And to keep out of the old woman's way, they agreed he should come only at night. The enchantress didn't suspect anything until one day Rapunzel said to her, "Tell me, why are you so much harder to lift up than the young prince who comes every night?" "What's that you're saying, you horrid girl?" the old woman screamed. "I thought I had hidden you from everyone, but you have cheated me." She was so angry that she grabbed Rapunzel's hair and cut it off with a pair of scissors. The lovely blonde hair fell onto the floor. Then the cruel enchantress carried the girl off to an endless desert and left her to look after herself. The day she cast out Rapunzel, the old woman fastened the long blonde hair to the window hook. When the prince came and called, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," she let it down, and he climbed up. But instead of Rapunzel, he found the enchantress. "The bird has flown," she sneered. "The cat has got it, and will scratch out your eyes as well. Forget Rapunzel, you will never see her again." In his sorrow, the prince threw himself from the window. He wasn't killed, but his eyes were pierced by thorns, and blinded, he staggered away. Roaming through the forest, helpless and in great pain, he ate nothing but roots and berries, and wept and mourned the loss of his lovely Rapunzel. Years later, he reached the desert where Rapunzel lived, sadly with her twins she had borne. When at last she saw him coming, she called his name, and he knew it was her voice, and they embraced and wept. 2 of her tears fell on his eyes, and he saw again. So he took her with the children to his kingdom, where they lived happily for many years. The end. So I hope you enjoyed that. You can get any of the Grimm fairy tales online. They're all free to download, and you can get them in any Fife library as well. Okay, thanks for watching.